Hello friends, today we are going to talk about one of the most important objection handlings which is right now going around in India specifically, where people are talking about mutual fund plus term insurance. So every time this objection comes up, my students ask me, and this is a continuous problem that is there right now. So you look at all the channels, people propagating term plus MF plus term insurance. You look at all the newspapers, they are also targeting or talking about mutual fund plus term insurance, which logically looks correct. Okay, so this whole concept has come from a very logical perspective, and what is that perspective is that mutual fund gives very high returns. Term insurance you should buy because life insurance endowment policy does not give you that high return. So life insurance is not for return, it is only for insurance, and therefore you should do insurance only from the insurance company. You should do investment only from mutual fund. Now I would like to make one thing clear. There are a lot of people in the insurance industry who talk negatively about the mutual fund and other things. But let me make it very clear. Mutual fund is a very, very important asset class, and the hedging against inflation can only be done by mutual fund. So that is a matter that can be discussed later. But please do not put down, please do not compare life insurance with any asset class. All asset classes are very important for the people. I don't know, would you ask people just to not to buy a house, only buy life insurance, not to buy mutual fund, not to buy house, not to buy gold, not to buy do anything and just buy? I think that would be foolish. It would be something very crappy. So I feel that as a professional, if you are just an advisor, just trying to sell some products, then that is okay. But let me tell you that the CFP, the financial planners, the goal-based planners are making lot of splash across the social media, and therefore people are able to read this information. Now when you are going and you are giving an opinion which is exactly opposite of what people are doing in the media, then you will be a laughing stock, and that's not what we want to be. So we have to be very clear that mutual fund is a very important asset class. It gives a hedging against inflation. Every person, including insurance agents and development officers, should have mutual fund investments, a particular portfolio of mutual fund, which is very, very important. In the third video, I spoke about the football example. Why it is very important? Because it's like just having the goalkeeper and not having any other players. If you ask people just to buy life insurance, that's not correct. So please take this in the right perspective. I am not saying, or I am not talking against mutual fund, because mutual fund is a very important asset class. It is needed for everybody, and everybody should put a good amount of portion of almost 50% of their investments in mutual fund. But one of the things that I have, which I feel that if somebody is talking about mutual fund plus term insurance, I am not in that game. I don't agree, because I feel this whole dialogue is about logic, and logically it is right, it is correct that you should not spend your money on life insurance for investment. You should put your money in mutual fund. But that is very logical. Now let me ask you another question, and this is what I ask the people, and I tell them, and many of my videos I'll be sharing this. So I ask people, is money emotional or is it logical? So most of the time, if you see, not most, 100% of the time, our dealing with money is very emotional. It is not logical. Money is not 1 + 1 = 2, So if I have to go and eat an ice cream, and I know that money would be lost, I will not get any returns on that money. So do you think you will not eat the ice cream? If what mutual fund plus term insurance people are saying, I would like to ask them this one question, that basically you then should not eat food, you should not have ice cream, or maybe you can eat food, but at least you should not have ice cream, you should not have very good entertainment. Why do you buy a Mercedes-Benz car or all the Jaguar and all these other cars? Because the return in them is very, very bad, and yet people do it. Is because of emotion. It's the emotion of fully feeling satisfaction and pride, owning that Mercedes Benz. That's the return. So return normally does not happen only in finance. We have to understand there is an emotional return which is there. That's the reason why I put my children for education. If return was the only thing, I don't know whether my kids will pay me back or they'll support me in the future. But yet I do the full planning of their education. I spend that money. I work hard for that because that's an emotional thing. I am not worried about the returns on that. So similarly, when somebody in the media is talking about returns and only returns, I have a doubt. Do you think all of us deal with finance logically? If yes, if you are doing everything logically, I have no problem. Then the mutual fund plus term insurance will work. But I feel primarily that this is not correct. People don't deal with finance logically, because then a lot of things which are there will not happen. I will not buy a very good bungalow, or I will not buy a big house to stay, because the return from that, since I am consuming that asset, it will not be good. Why would I buy a car which is a depreciating asset? Financially and logically it's not correct. But the same people who propagate mutual fund plus term insurance buy a Mercedes Benz. Where does this logic go there? Is it only to rip up emotions and to be something like, feel great about this, that they are splashing this all across the media? And I think this is not correct. And people have to understand this is a game, and this game we should be able to look through it, because I think mutual fund plus term insurance makes sense only if everybody thinks about it logically, which I don't feel. Every person is emotional when it comes to money, and let us be very clear about it. So the first thing that I tell my customers when he talks about mutual fund and term is, I ask him, sir, mutual fund plus term insurance is a very logical thing which people are talking about, but is your relationship with money logical or emotional? Do you have an ice cream? Do you go out for entertainment? What car do you have? And I will challenge and question all those decisions of my client, especially the HNI clients. You can ask them, why do you buy a Mercedes? It costs so big, kind of capital, and the cost, that is a running cost, is so very high. Why would you do it? So foolish. But no, the person is losing financially, but he is earning emotionally. He is getting satisfaction. He gets that feeling. He gets to show around, to show and show off himself, and that is also a return. So my dear friends, one thing be very clear, that the returns is not just in finance, and that is the reason why I feel this mutual fund plus term insurance, this whole proposition is seriously flawed. And therefore today I would like to talk about some 4 different reasons. I will be talking about 4 reasons why this MF plus term insurance is a sham, and that is something that people should not go by. And I think by the end of this video you will be completely convinced as to why an endowment policy with a saving element in that also is very important and makes a lot of sense. And I will also give you examples. Now, the first example that I would like to give is the letter written by Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie was one of the very proficient speakers in America, and his agent, his life insurance agent, Frank Bedgar. So Dale Carnegie wrote a letter to Frank Bedgar in almost at the time after his retirement, and he wrote to Frank Bedgar saying that I would like to thank you for the information and for the planning that you did for me by putting my money, quite a sizable amount of money, in the life insurance, because most of my money was lost, given to friends who had some need and which has never come back. Lot of money which I lost in the stock market. It is only the money in the evening of my life. The only money which I feel I am enjoying is the money that you put into the into the endowment policies, into the annuities, and that is now in black and white. It's in flesh and blood. that I am receiving and which is helping me to sustain myself. And if it had not been for you, probably I would not have been able to live my life. So thank you very much. That's the first letter which Dale Carnegie has given. It has, so maybe his experience was something different. It need not be that way always. So, this is not something that is an example which is across the board. This is one of the examples that I want to give. The second very important example is that most of the people who do mutual fund, okay, because there is one aspect which is very, very important, and which is called as the aid to thrift. Okay, aid to thrift. This is one of the founding principles of life insurance, which we forget when we talk about mutual fund and term insurance. The founding principle of aid to thrift. What is the meaning of aid to thrift? Aid to thrift means making the person keep investing on a regular basis and be invested for a long term. So I repeat, the meaning of thrift is that the person should continue to pay those installments, continue to pay. He should not stop those. There should be a compulsion to pay, and that is what life insurance does. It makes you a compulsion to pay, and the person should not exit that investment for a long time, because then the guarantee of that that corpus coming at the end of the period is ensured. And therefore the first principle is aid to thrift. What happens as far as mutual fund is concerned? Mutual fund, there is no compulsion to pay. So people can stop this at any point in time. I am given to understand that the latest statistics, the SIP average, average kind of life is not more than 24 to 30 months. So that means most of the people are not able to live through for a longer period, and this is about average. So there will be few people who will be exiting earlier, there will be few people who will be exiting later, but on an average it is about 30 months. So 30 months is really very, very scary, because then what it means is the goals are going to get screwed up. The people are not being able to stay put in that investment, and ultimately the corpus that they are looking at, the goal that they have set, they will not be able to enjoy that, because there is a possibility that they may stop the investment, and there is a possibility that they may exit the investment. And there are umpteen examples of people from your even your clients. You can see yourself. Forget about clients. I would give my own example. Mutual fund, my portfolio, I have diluted it or exited from it 2 times during my career, because I had to buy office or I had to buy a house. So that's the normal kind of thing which happens. It's very rare that people really stay put in the investment. Normally people will take out that money either when they have not funded their goals, like if there is a daughter's marriage or a child's education or want to buy a property. In all these cases, maximum of the times the mutual fund is what is which is withdrawn. Therefore the mutual fund is not an aid to thrift. A life insurance endowment policy is an aid to thrift, and it actually gives you the money at the end of the period. So that's the one very important thing. The second reason why we should not talk about mutual fund plus term insurance is because of asset allocation.